Running through the competition, stay tuned to hear about how the track team season is off to a hot start. The men and women's basketball are in full effect after break. In Big Bun's last ride, hear how the Steelers finished the season and how the rest of the playoffs are going and more. It's time to come on down to the Pioneer Sideline. Good evening and welcome to Pioneer Sideline. I'm Natalia Hillen. The men and women's track and field team traveled to the Marietta College Invitational for their first indoor meet of the 2022 spring semester. The men's team placed second out of 10 teams with a total of 77 points overall. Point Park secured a total of 19 points from triple jump with top scorers including Collins Ezzie placing first with a jump of 14.02 meters. Right behind him was Damir Steven Stewart placing second with a 13.65 meters, and Dorian Boatswain jumping 11.92 meters, placing eighth. Moving on to the long jump, the men's team got a total of 16 points with Collins Ezzie back placing second with 6.89 meters, and Damir Steven Stewart taking on third with 6.86 meters. On the throw side, taking fifth in shot put was Nasir Galloway with a 13.92, and in weight throw, Daniel Jacobs took ninth overall with a personal record of 12.12 meters. In the 800-meter race, Isaiah White led the way, placing second with a time of 2 minutes and 3 seconds. On the sprint side, two pioneers made the finals in the 55-meter dash. Taking sixth was Damir Lomax with a time of 6.59, and Damir Steven Stewart took eighth at 6.65. Point Park's 4x4 100-meter relay team obtained second at 3 minutes and 36 seconds with Alanik, White, Windelband, and Wright. Moving forward with the women's team, the Pioneers placed 7th out of 11 teams with a total of 42.5 points. Junior Sophie Jabozi won the triple jump with a 10.79 meters, and in pole vault cleared 2.85 meters. Overall, Jabozi secured 22 points for Point Park. For the high jump, freshman Jaden Hines cleared 1.48 meters, placing third. And in the 400-meter race, junior Lexi Langdon got her personal best with a time of 1 minute and 5 seconds. Taking ninth place in the 55-meter hurdles was freshman Hannah Bond at a time of 10.32, and on top of hurdles, Bond ran the 55-meter dash, taking 11th place at 8.01 seconds. On the distance side, taking 8th overall in the 3,000-meter race was junior Natalia Zuko at a time of 12:24, and running the mile was sophomore Ali Placio at a time of 5:53, taking 9th. The Pioneers' next indoor meet will be this Friday at the YSU Invitational. Good luck to both the men and women's team this week practicing and preparing. Now, switching gears, this past weekend, Point Park's competitive cheer and dance teams competed in their first competitions of the season. The cheer team competed at Concordia University in Michigan. The team competed in 2 competitions on Saturday. Out of 3 teams, Point Park took second with a total score of 74.25. Concordia had a total score of 79.82, taking first place, and taking third was Mount Vernon Nazarene with a score of 65.37. In the second event, it was between Point Park and Concordia due to Mount Vernon Nazarene not competing. Concordia stayed in first place with a 79.53, and Point Park had a score of 72.57. The dance team then competed on Sunday in Michigan and took first place at the Lawrence Tech University Blue Devils Classic with a total score of 70.75. The Pioneers beat Madonna and Lawrence Tech University. Both cheer and dance teams will be competing next Saturday at the Siena Heights back in Michigan. Good luck, ladies. After the break, we'll hear from Joey Bova on how men and women's basketball is doing after their long break. Stay tuned. The men and women's basketball team came back after Christmas break, and they mean business. The girls improved to 10-5, and the boys are 8-8 after the weekend. Both teams had 2 games this past week, and to catch us up on their games, we bring in Joey Bova. Joey?
Thanks, Nat. The girls faced off against BNS Buffalo last Thursday after a long break and unfortunate postponement since December 21st, and things started slow with the girls being down 47-39 at half. Things started to pick up when Michelle Burns led the way with 26 total points and shooting 6 for 12 and 6 assists. The girls outscored BNS 21-11 in the fourth quarter and outshined BNS with more rebounds, assists, and less turnovers. Heading into Saturday's game, the girls were up 15 with a 40-35 lead at the half. Michelle Burns and Lexi Petit were on fire, combining for 50 points, 10 threes, and 10 assists. Sierra Sineda had a team-high 6 assists and a huge night for rebounding for the team, with Taylor Ring grabbing 17 and Carly Lutz with 13 of the 15 total rebounds. The team has 2 more games this coming week, starting on Thursday against IU Kokomo at 5:30 and Saturday against St. Mary of the Woods at 3. Now on to the men's past week. The boys fell short on Thursday against BNS Buffalo in a non-conference game, 79-69. Early on, they were trailing by 15, but shortened the gap to only 9, with the score being 38-29 at the half. After the half, the boys went on a 14-4 run, keeping the score within 2 points. Eddie Floor had a team-high 16 points in the second half. Both teams' stats are similar, with 43 rebounds, 13 assists, and 14 turnovers across the board. On Saturday, the boys went up against Alice Lloyd College. The Eagles led most of the game, but the Pioneers battled all game and kept it close, being down 20 at one point. Sharon Schiffno had a team-high 22 points, followed by Nate Van with 17 and Eddie Floor with 14 and 4 assists, with both of them shooting above 50%. The boys play again on Thursday against IU Kokomo at 7:30 and Saturday against St. Mary of the Woods at 1. Now let's send it back to Nat at the desk.
Well, thanks, Joey, and good luck to both teams. Next, find out what's going on with the Pirates, Steelers, and Penguins. And later, who will be the starting quarterback for the Steelers in their first season without Big Ben. All that and more next.
40% of food in the United States is never eaten. At the same time, 1 in 8 Americans is struggling to put enough food on the table. Before you let your food go bad or throw your leftovers in the garbage, think about your options. To learn more about food waste and how you can reduce food waste at home, visit www.nrdc.org/issues/food-waste.
Welcome back. The Pittsburgh Pirates are in lockdown. The Steelers season comes to an end, and the Penguins just wrapped up a long season road trip as they hope to finish the first half of the season strong. To discuss what's going on regionally in sports, let's send things over to Jacob Kubik. Jacob?
Thanks, Nat. The Pittsburgh Steelers season came to a close Sunday after a 42-21 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC wildcard round Sunday night. While the odds were severely stacked against them, the Steelers showed heart, the whole game and held a 7-0 lead early in the second quarter before the barrage of scoring from Patrick Mahomes and company. It has not been confirmed yet if the loss was quarterback Ben Roethlisberger's final game in the NFL, but if it was his final game, what a wild ride down the stretch it has been. Ben led the Steelers to back-to-back wins in must-win games in Weeks 17 and 18 and needed help from the Jaguars, Raiders, and Chargers just to make the postseason. A win Sunday may have been far-fetched, but the fact that the Steelers were playing Sunday was an accomplishment in itself. The Pittsburgh Penguins have just concluded a season-long 6-game road trip with an impressive winning record. The Penguins went 4-2-0 on the road trip with wins against the Flyers, Ducks, Sharks, and Golden Knights, and losses to the Stars and Kings. Evgeny Malkin made an emphatic return to the lineup against the Ducks, scoring 2 goals in the Penguins' 4-1 win last Tuesday. The Penguins are back in PPG Paints Arena at 7 o'clock Thursday night against the Ottawa Senators. In Pirates news, the MLB remains locked out with no resolution between the owners and the players' union in sight. And if you're in the mood for sunshine, pitchers and catchers are scheduled to report on February 18th. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks, Jacob. Now let's send things over to Sam Parator to give us a recap on this past weekend's wildcard games and what's to come for the rest of the playoffs. Sam?
Thanks, Nat. Super Wildcard Weekend was, in fact, wild. I am Sam Parator here with your rapid recap as well as a preview of the divisional round next week. It all started off on Saturday afternoon when the Las Vegas Raiders traveled to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Backed by another big performance by Cincy's young star quarterback Joe Burrow and rookie wideout Jamar Chase, the Bengals were able to pick up their first playoff win in 31 years, 26-19. The other Saturday game, Saturday night, saw the third matchup of the year between division rivals New England Patriots and Buffalo Bills. The Bills were not messing around and easily took care of business with a huge 47-17 blowout win to advance. Speaking of blowout wins, the first Sunday game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also saw one, as the Bucs took home a 31-15 victory to keep their title defense alive. Moving on to the afternoon game, this one ended up a little bit closer as the San Francisco 49ers pulled off the upset against the Dallas Cowboys after a crucial last-play mistake by quarterback Dak Prescott cost them a chance at the game. Lastly, for Sunday's final game, as you heard earlier, the Kansas City Chiefs showed up and blew out the Pittsburgh Steelers to give Big Ben an unfortunate ending to what is most likely his last ride. To close out the weekend was yet another unexpectedly one-sided affair as the Los Angeles Rams dominated the Arizona Cardinals 34-11. Looking forward to next weekend, Saturday we'll see the AFC's #1 seeded Tennessee Titans take on the Cincinnati Bengals in Nashville, and the NFC's #1 seeded Green Bay Packers take on the San Francisco 49ers at legendary Lambeau Field. Sunday we'll see the Buccaneers take on the Rams in Tampa and in the afternoon, and then the matchup everyone's been waiting for, a rematch of last year's AFC Championship as the Bills travel to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs in what is looking to be an explosive matchup. That's all for me. See you next week for some divisional round recap. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks, Sam. Coming up next, who will be the next quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Stay tuned for the Case of the Week next on Pioneer Sideline. Welcome back. With the Steelers now out of the playoffs and Ben's last game potentially having been played, who do we think the Steelers could draft or possibly sign this coming off season? I'm joined with Jacob, Joey, and John, and they're about to give their input and opinions. So Jacob, we're going to start with you. What are the possible options first with our quarterback for next season?
In the draft, we have Kenny Pickett out of Pitt, and then we also have Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. The only issue with Matt Corral out of the draft is he just suffered a knee injury in the Sugar Bowl against Baylor, so he may not be the best option out of the draft. And then there's also a couple of free agent quarterbacks. Russell Wilson said that he's going to stay in Seattle, and Aaron Rodgers is still under contract, so that may be tough to pull off. But a good sleeper pick that nobody really thinks of is Nick Foles. Nick Foles, every time he plays a game, there really is not too many bad games that he plays. Led the Eagles to the Super Bowl against the Patriots. So I feel like if they're going to pursue the free agent market, somebody that's cheap, he may be a good guy to pursue.
Interesting. So I know we have a few options with the draft. What about currently on the team, Joey? What are you thinking?
I mean, I've been seeing a few things. Like Jacob said, Aaron Rodgers is definitely a possibility. I don't see it coming our way. Russell Wilson, as much as I would love to have a mobile quarterback like Russ, I don't think he's going to be the best option. Maybe Derek Carr. I know he did just make it to the playoffs this year with the Raiders. Maybe Derek Carr could be a good option for us. Maybe Nick Foles, like Jacob said, or even maybe Marcus Mariota. Like I said, I would love to see a mobile quarterback working with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. But it all just depends on the upcoming months, and let's see what the Steelers have to do.
Listen, the Steelers have to get this QB succession plan right. They have too many good players on this team to waste with a QB that can't win. T.J. Watt, Najee Harris, Cameron Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick. These are players that could win a championship with a quarterback. The quarterback makes it go. And people are linking Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. That's just not the Steeler way of doing things. Too unrealistic. I think the Steelers shouldn't look outside the city. They should go with Kenny Pickett in the draft. They need to trade up for a quarterback in the draft. They need to change with the times. They don't have to go too big, but they need to possibly trade some future draft capital to move up in the draft to select their future quarterback. We saw the Chiefs do it with Mahomes. Look what happened. They beat us in the playoffs. So it's time for the Steelers to change with the times, make a move up for Kenny Pickett. He's a winner. He has a connection with the city. So I think the Steelers need to trade up, get Kenny Pickett in the draft. And people say Mason Rudolph. The only way I want Mason Rudolph starting is if it's as a starter behind Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett's learning behind Mason Rudolph, and then Kenny Pickett will obviously take over. But that's the way I believe the Steelers need to go.
If I have one question for you guys. If you had to pick one person to be the new quarterback, who would it be?
Well, unrealistically, I would say Aaron Rodgers, but I would say either Derek Carr or Nick Foles in the free agency world. But the only thing with drafting Kenny Pickett is, like, as much as I would love to have Kenny on the team go from University of Pittsburgh to the Steelers, is you look at the Steelers' history of drafting up, and the Steelers' history of drafting up is very lackluster. Devin Bush is a great option of that. Devin Bush, he had his ACL tear, and he hasn't been the same player since, so I don't really know if it's worth, if he goes early, I don't know if it's really worth drafting up for Pickett at the moment.
Have you mentioned Troy Polamalu and Santonio Holmes, though? They traded up for them as well.
That is
Kevin
true.
Colbert has a history of successful trades in the draft. Even though Devin Bush, before his injury, he was looking pretty good. So we got to see. The Steelers have to be aggressive. They need to continue to be aggressive. They traded a first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. That worked out well. They have to continue to be aggressive, and the Steelers need to get that quarterback of the future. Aaron Rodgers is great, but as we saw with Ben, Father Time is going to come. And Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age as well, and behind this offensive line, it's going to be the same thing. So we need to get a young quarterback. Look at Cincinnati, Joe Burrow. Look at Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Even Cleveland has their quarterback. Well, we're going to see next year, but he played injured this year. But even they have a young quarterback that led them to a playoff win. Yeah. So the Steelers got to find that guy.
I couldn't agree more. It's just I know that we need other things than just a quarterback. Like we need an offensive line. We need a couple of guys on defense as well. So it's just I don't know if you look at the whole team. I don't know if you could really trade draft capital away for just one guy at the moment. They're getting paid to make that decision in the general manager position, but I don't know if it's really worth it at the moment.
Joey, if you had to pick one person
I
to be
mean,
the quarterback.
like Jacob and John said, I'm a ride or die Kenny Pickett guy. I would love to see Kenny don the black and gold, going from blue and gold at Pitt to Pittsburgh Steelers. As much as I would love to see an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson or a Derek Carr, I realistically don't think it's possible. Going back to what John was saying about having him start, I mean, we didn't start Ben Roethlisberger when he came in out of his rookie year. He was a third-string quarterback.
Yep.
As much as I would love to see Kenny start, he's not going to have the experience in the NFL, obviously, coming in as a rookie. I don't really want to see Mason Rudolph as a starting quarterback, but, we'll see what happens. Like I said, Kenny Pickett, hail to Pickett.
I agree. I feel like I want to see Pickett there. If we have a rookie coming on the team for the quarterback, Mason Rudolph's probably going to be the starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. But if we get someone like Aaron Rodgers, then probably not. So we're going to have to see. Mm-hmm. We're just going to have to see at the draft, guys.
Yep.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and the same Pioneer Sideline.